had a fantastic week. Ready for a little rest and relaxation, perhaps. Not all of us, right? Some of us are going to work for the weekend. Um, but I hope you're having a great week. Anyhow, weather is looking beautiful out here in Vegas. The spring is in full bloom. It's really nice. Weather is like mid 80s. It feels like San Diego. Loving it. So if you're looking to get your procedures done, now is like perfect time. It's not too hot, um, right now, but it's going to get there quickly. So act quick. If you're getting prepared for the summer, this is the time to do so. You're going to have some recovery after your procedures, so you have to, you know, give yourself a little bit of time before you expect to be, back out doing things, perhaps by the pool or beach or lake or wherever you go in the summer. Get away from the heat. Um, Many of you have been trying different things, and whether it's diet or exercise, or maybe you tried you know weight loss programs. You might have tried some non-surgical stuff like cool sculpting, or you know fad diets, or tried those boot camps where you're working out really really hard, and then then when it's over you stop. And so with that, what that's done, and just I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's what many people go through, and I was one of the people that went through these things, and it was like I was like on a yo-yo. It was just up and down, up and down. And as soon as I felt like lean and healthy, my mind would switch and be like, okay, now it's time to have donuts and desserts and enjoy life, and live. And that was my mindset. That was my thought process, because it was all about the weight. I was so focused on the weight. Um, then I got to a point in my life when I realized that it's not about the weight at all. It's about the health. It's because like that junk that you're eating, that's causing the fat, is actually killing you by destroying your organs and toxifying your body, and it's bad for you. So when I educated myself and I realized that the stuff that I was eating in the past was not good for my body, I started eating healthier food. And when I ate healthier food, the consequence was the weight loss. The consequence was that I felt better and had more energy. The consequence is that my blood pressure went down, and I was able to get off of my blood pressure medication. So it's possible. It's possible. But a lot of times it's the mindset. And if you're going into this thinking that this is just a weight thing, like you wanted to get liposuction, and you're like, how much am I going to lose? Like, who cares? Who cares? If you get this hourglass figure, if you're the same weight, who cares? Because it's not about a number. It's about how you look. It's about how you feel. It's about how your clothes fit you. That's the important things. When people come in focused on a number, it leaves you in a situation where you're going to be disappointed. If you measure your success by some arbitrary number, then when you don't hit that arbitrary number, you will psychologically feel let down and perhaps depressed. So it's not something that you think about, and a lot of this happens on a subconscious level. But when you could become conscious of what you're doing, you can realize that you're thinking a certain way, and that you can change. And it's that easy. It's realize and change. Because a lot of things that we do in life, the habits that we do, it's the habits that were perhaps given to us at such a young age, and we were just told, hey, do it this way. And you're at a young age, you're like, why? But why? And just shut up and just do it this way. And we were just programmed, basically. This is the way you do things. You get up at 6 in the morning, and you go to school, and then after school's done, you go to work, or you play sports, or whatever thing. You're programmed to do these things, and you're programmed to think certain ways. So then when you get out in the what we call the real world after school, right? You're programmed to go find a job, because you're supposed to get a house and a place to live, and have money to buy cars, and go and do things where this is what we're told we're supposed to do. So in order to do those certain things, we create patterns that make it easier, which is good. That's what we want to do, right? So our normal average day, we want to create patterns that make it easier for us. And this is where the habits come in, is many times we'll create these patterns which someone else told us, hey, this is the way I do it, so you should do it this way. And we just say, okay, well, if it's good enough for you, it's good enough for me. And you start doing it without even thinking about it. As you get older, you might find that the person that taught you that, like little Jimmy back in high school, he wasn't very smart, and he told you to do the wrong things. And so you've been doing the wrong things every day for the past 2 decades, and now the consequences are obvious, right? Because Jimmy told you, hey, uh, you know, that saying, it's an apple a day keeps a doctor away. He's like, that was BS. That's not true. What they really meant is a chocolate bar a day keeps the headaches away, right? He just made it up, and you said, hey, that sounds great. A chocolate a day keeps the headaches away. Man, I got headaches all the time, so I should be eating a chocolate bar a day every day. And so you're thinking, wow, that's great. And so you do that, and you start eating chocolate bars every day. And next thing you know, 5 years goes by, 10 years go by, and then the consequences of eating that chocolate bar become very obvious, right? And that's, okay, this is an extreme example. Clearly, you're not going to have eaten a chocolate bar every day, but the point is that sometimes we kind of fall into these patterns, and we might do things, and it might be a bad habit that's causing a detriment to us. But in most cases, when we have these negative habits, like let's say smoking cigarettes, in most cases there's going to be some type of positive that we elicit from that habit. So smoking cigarettes is going to give us a positive feedback right at the moment. Man, it feels so good. I'm relaxed and calm, and the anxiety that I had is gone. I feel good. And so that's why people smoke. They smoke for the moment, for right now. But they're not thinking that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, they're going to have to pay the price. All right, is a tummy tuck necessary if I do this procedure? Jasmine, take a look at our pictures, Jasmine. Go to our, we have a private Facebook group. I know you're on Instagram, but if you go on Facebook, we have a private Facebook group where we have many of these pictures that you see behind us. These are real people that are sharing their stories, and they can communicate with you directly, and you can see what their stories are. We don't do tummy tucks on anybody. Not a single one of our patients gets a tummy tuck. So none of these pictures behind me include a tummy tuck, and it's not necessary. We've developed techniques to avoid the tummy tuck. So that big scar that you get from the tummy tuck, the fake belly button, no need for any of that. Let's see, Uretzi 0119 says, at what should my weight be or BMI be so I can get lipo? Well, we don't have any specific number. However, if you want some pricing based on what your current BMI is, you go to our quick quote. You can go find that on our website, myshapelipo.com. Right on the front there, you click on the quick quote system, and it opens up, and you can get some basic information, providing like your height and your weight, gives us your BMI, and that BMI we calculate the BMI, which gives us essentially a volume of fat, so we can guess or estimate how much volume will you be removing from your body based off of your BMI. We also put those in the categories, which helps us give a sliding scale. So larger individuals, the pricing goes up because we're going to do more work and remove more fat. So we can definitely help you, and Kat's sharing that link to the Facebook group right now. But the cool thing is you'll see over and over, I've tried to provide consistency for you. So you see the pictures that it's not just one person that's getting these results, that a lot of people are getting these results, and they're consistent. And most people, they're like, well, but I got this issue and that issue and this issue and that issue. I've had babies, I have stretch marks, and cool. And don't believe me. Go talk to these girls on the private Facebook group, because there's a lot of them, and they all have the issues that you're concerned about. You're gonna find somebody that's got some issue just like yours, whether your belly's hanging way down here, or you got a bunch of stretch marks, or loose skin, or you're larger. Whatever the case, I've done so many of these procedures that you're gonna find somebody that's just like you. And when you do, you'll have not a prediction of what it's going to be like for you, but you'll have some idea. Someone like you, they went through the process and this was their experience. And, you know, but you also have to realize that you have to take it with a grain of salt, and that their experience is not necessarily going to be your experience. Even if it was good, you got to realize that you're not them, so it's going to be different. But I hope that it makes you feel more comfortable and confident in your decision, because that's ultimately um, what's most important. Is you need to understand what you're getting into. You need to understand what the process is going through this these steps, and you need to understand and be realistic with what is possible with you. And where you'll see some amazing results, there's going to be some that are less than amazing. Everybody has their different potential, and my job is just to get out as much fat as we can, try and keep everything as smooth and even as possible, and then your body, the skin is going to take shape to whatever your natural body shape is. So some women have these just incredible shapes to them and curves to them, and all I have to do is just remove the fat that doesn't belong. It's like taking off that blanket, that covering, and it's all there. It's all there. I mean, this is our natural anatomy. I'm just restoring the natural anatomy, and you know, you've had it there. You've always had it there. And I think you know that. You know you've always had it there, but you've added on this extra stuff. Um, so maybe you've tried to get rid of it. This young lady here, she's an awesome story. She was a model when she was younger, and she came in for liposuction probably about 7, 8 years ago. We treated her outer thighs, and so clearly her outer thighs are looking good now. But she had some family issues, and she was taking care of her elderly relative, and for a couple years, she just kind of, we'll call it let herself go, right? She let herself go, and she gained a bunch of weight. It wasn't working out. She was, taking care of her family member. And then, after a couple years, she's like, all right, it's time to get back to my regular life. And so she was trying to get back into modeling, and the people that were going to offer her a job were like, hey, you didn't look like this last time we talked. And so she clearly knew that she needed to make some changes. So she started changing her diet, exercise, and then she decided to, find My Shape Lipo again and see if she can get the results. And she, in fact, she came in, she got the 360 lipo, as you can see, and it really just changed her entire profile, like everything about her. And in addition to the liposuction, she really got into the body, shaping and working out and taking care of herself. And you can see the results. She's worked hard. And the nice thing is when you gain weight, proportionally. So with her getting bigger, it made her breasts bigger. But then when we took away the fat, all of a sudden now she's got a tiny little waistline and big breasts. So, clearly some people like that, some people don't. I don't know. It's up to you. You got to decide whether that's important to you or not. But all these are just used as examples to show what's possible for you. So all of you on Facebook, make sure you're hitting the share button. And when you're serious, we do have this 15% off special going on right now. So it's really, really easy. You can get the pricing. Simply just go to our website. You click on the quick quote system. It's right on the front there. With the quick quote, asks you a few questions based off your BMI, off your height and your weight. We get the BMI, so we can give you a fairly accurate quote. Then once you have an idea of what the pricing is and you're serious, you're ready to move forward, the next step is getting your formal consultation. It's $100 for that formal consultation. You'll get to speak to me directly. I'm going to review pictures. We're going to go over your full medical history, answer all your questions, and develop a plan of success. I've been doing this a long time, so it's easy for me to look at people's bodies and see what needs to be done to get these type of results, because I know what's possible. I know what I'm capable of, and I know what's capable for you. Now, clearly, there's going to be some discrepancies, and from body to body, people have different issues. But it's something that we've done so many times and so consistently gotten results that it's easy to predict for most people, and to figure out what we're capable of doing. And that's why I like to provide my experience just by showing you these things is now you can gain the experience and be like, well, I see all these different people and these are the different types of results. This person had this issue, this person had this issue. You know, everything affects everything, right? So the skin tone that you have, the age that you are, if whether you've gained weight and lost weight in the past, that'll affect the different structure of the fat and the connective tissue that holds the fat together. Sometimes the fat's really difficult to get off the body. Sometimes it comes out really easily. Sometimes the skin is very thin, and the skin is literally just laying on top of whatever's underneath. So when we remove the fat, if we're not able to remove that fat nice and smooth, the skin's gonna lie on top. And if the skin's thin, you think about like skin, the thickness of the skin is synonymous to like silk. Some people have really thin skin, it's like silk. Any little irregularity underneath, just like if it were silk, you're going to see it. In contrast, there's other individuals that have very thick skin and it's tough skin, and I use the analogy of denim. So it's so thick. So when denim lays over a rough surface, you're not going to see the irregularities unless they're really big indentations. But that's the difference between some individuals. Some people might it's really difficult to get their fat out. So we might be somewhat limited in getting some of these results because it was so difficult to get the fat out. Other people, it's like the fat comes out so easy, it cleans out nicely, everything comes out nice and smooth, and it's great. But people are different, right? So we do everything that we can to give you the best potential for the results. Now, you are going to be different, but we've dealt with lots of different types of people, and I've figured out different ways to get each individual type to get the best possible results. And that's really the advantage of coming to someone like me who's done thousands of these procedures. Okay, no problem, Yetzi. What's up, Brenda, Tierney, Juana Valona, Tracy, Peggy? Hope you guys are having a great day. Any questions that you have, I'm here to answer that. Don't forget, we do have this 15% off. To take advantage of this, you need to place a deposit by the end of this month. So it's coming up quickly. So if you're considering this or you're considering liposuction at all, it would behoove you to take advantage of this. This is a big discount, and depending on how big a procedure you're trying to get, it could save you thousands of dollars. So it's opportunity knocks, and the question is who answers. And that's with life in general, there's always opportunity, there's always potential out there, but the question is, are you going to, once you have the knowledge of the potential, it's potential energy. It's just that, it's a potential. It's a potential of getting this discount. It's a potential of getting this body. Now you have to take the action. If you don't take action to act on that potential, then there's no way that the potential could come to fruition. So there's no way for you to get this body unless you actually get the consultation, pay for the deposit, come for the procedure. These are just the steps in the process, and you got to realize this is why we talk about these words. This is a journey. It's a process. It takes time. It's not just like snap your fingers and everything's great. It's a process. You get the procedure, whole leading up to the procedure, the anxiety, the fear, all that stuff is normal. It's just part of the process. Once you had the procedure day, you'll experience the procedure. It's a totally weird, different experience. It's odd, it's bizarre. You probably never experienced anything like it before. It feels bizarre, right? But it's one day, one small little moment in time. That moment in time is going to get you these results, right? If you want these long-term results, you got to go through that moment in time. You go through that moment in time, you pass through that, and then all of a sudden the fat's gone. And when the fat's gone, then you're the different person. It's like literally you're a different person because part of you is now gone. And now your body has to react and respond to the trauma that we just created on the body. So once we take that fat out of you, your body responds. How does it respond? Well, the first thing is it's going to start swelling up. So if you imagine like you have a big cavity, you have space, you have fat, right? So once we take out all that fat, all that space that was there, it starts to collapse. And as it collapses, we put compression garments on. Now the compression garments bring the two layers together. So now there's no more fat there, and those two layers come together. And over the next couple weeks, your body forms scar tissue. So now we got those two layers brought together, and the scar tissue will work like glue, and it sticks things together. The compression garment keeps things nice and tight and collapse down like this, and then the scar tissue sticks them together, and that's how the belly goes away. And so when you've been lied to in the past, and when they told you that, hey, we're gonna suck out the fat and you're gonna have this big hanging sack of skin, that's just a big lie. It's a big lie because it just doesn't happen. Not with my patients. I mean, maybe someone else is getting those results, but they're not happening with me. When we get the fat out of there, again, the skin sticks together, and it's like this is the way the body works. I don't know if anyone else has figured it out, but I figured it out. Okay, all we have to do is hold it in position, and that's what the compression garments are for. Now, a key thing that you need to be aware of with this is that the scar tissue forms in whatever position you're in, right? So what happens if instead of being lined up perfectly, you were off? Or what if it was folded, the skin? Well, what happens is the body forms scar tissue in whatever position you're in. So if it's folded and you cause ridges, you're going to form scar tissue in that position, and then it can potentially become permanent. As the scar tissue forms, it'll form in whatever position it's in. So that's where you need to be conscious. You need to be aware the importance of keeping things smooth and even, because it's no one's fault but your own. Once you leave our office, it's your responsibility to make sure things are smooth and even. That's why I stand here all day long preaching, right? Preaching to you guys the importance of doing these different things, because you have to hold some responsibility. And when you leave my office, everything's nice and smooth. I made it even, everything's perfect, and we put the compression garment on. But afterwards, after you leave our office, things happen, right? Things happen, but you need to start taking responsibility and making sure that things are smooth and even, because it's your body. I'm not going to be there, or my staff is not going to be there. You have to be conscious. You have to be aware. You have to, do the things that are necessary for you to get the results that you want. Extra fancy. We are located in Las Vegas, just a short flight from pretty much anywhere. And we got about 85% of our patients flying from out of state, because we specialize specifically in liposuction. And more importantly, we're getting these results. And I'm sure that wherever you're at, you're going to find, once you start looking at the local people, that they just don't get results like this. And if you look like any of these, patients, the previous ones, that the larger ones, if the larger individuals, inevitably plastic surgeons are telling you have to get a tummy tuck, and I'm just here to offer you an alternative. You don't have to get a tummy tuck. If you want a tummy tuck, by all means, go get cut up and have those big scars, and you got to do what you got to do. If that makes sense to you, you should do that. However, if you want an alternative, you don't want a tummy tuck, you don't want a big scar, you don't want general anesthesia, then there's another option. And then you just need to make a choice. Okay, Reina Soria says, hi, I do my lipo and BBL on April 27th. I have 3 weeks and I feel very sexy. Thank you very much for your work. You and Dr. Have changed my life. I appreciate it, and thank you, my sister Susie, for supporting me. That's awesome. That is really awesome, Reina. It's so fun hearing those type of things, and when you see these people saying these comments. I mean, I didn't solicit that, So Reina, I really appreciate you sharing that with us, and many of these previous patients are sharing their stories on the group, on the private Facebook group, and that's how we get these pictures. So hopefully Reina's on the group sharing her comments there and sharing her pictures, so these people that see her talking here can go check her out. Okay, Extra Fancy says, can you still get the same results, or what to do still if you have that extra skin? So, Extra Fancy, it's, when you say you have that extra skin, there's no perfection after this procedure. So unless you cut away all skin, you're never going to get it like super tight. But it's an unnatural tight. Our bodies don't naturally have that tight of skin. Even when you're younger, it's not like naturally super tight. So when they cut it, that's they're pulling it unnaturally tight. And if that's what you want, that's cool. It's unnatural, but when you do that, you limit your motion. So like with the abdomen, standing up straight is going to be limited. Bending and movement is going to be a little bit more challenging, because they literally limit your motion. The extra skin, it's incredible how well the skin tightens up, and I use the analogy of like a water balloon. And so a water balloon is, you fill it up, it'll stretch out, it'll get really, really big, right? But then when you remove the water and bring it out, the skin, it retracts back and it gets smaller, it gets significantly smaller, and it has the potential to get all the way small as it was before. Now, in the process of getting bigger, you're going to have the potential of stretching the skin. So that's where you get the stretch marks, and it damages the collagen in the skin, which leads to the stretch marks. So when you shrink back down, the stretch marks will collapse, they'll get smaller, but the damage has already been done. Once the damage has been done, that's still going to be there. So now what happens when the skin contracts up and you have all this damaged skin? That's when you're going to get some irregular, just like with the balloon analogy, the balloon, when it shrinks up a little bit too much, you see the skin of the balloon starts to look like this weirdness because it was damaged. So your skin has the same effect. So the truth is we don't know exactly the way it's going to look because your skin's a little bit different than someone else. But that's why we like to show pictures, because many people have these questions and they have these concerns. And so when we show pictures of other women who had the same problem, then you can psychologically, you can be like, oh, okay, I see how it turned out like this for this person. But then there's going to be some other people that it's not going to turn out like that. It's different. So you just have to realize the spectrum of what's possible. And so when I say that, like there's like a temperature scale, right? If you have 0 to 100 degrees, like where does warm start and where does cold start? It's a spectrum, right? So your level is going to be somewhere on that scale. So with how well the results turn out, it's a spectrum. There's going to be, you're going to be, some people it's going to be amazing, like unbelievable, like I can't believe, like on the far end of the spectrum. And then some people were like, well, it didn't, the results weren't as good, or maybe you got irregularities, or the skin tone wasn't as good as you anticipated, so that's like the other side of the spectrum. And the reality is both are possible. It's all possible. Anything's possible. But we try to do everything that we can to kind of scoot you over to the other side to where, like some of the things that you may be concerned about, like the volume, like we try and make sure that we get all the volume out so it's not an issue. So cool, you're more on this side. We try and make sure everything's smooth and even as possible so you don't have irregularities, more on the positive side, right? So while we do everything that we can to keep it as positive as possible and get you the best possible results, it's, you got to be realistic with what's possible for your body, because I'm human, staff is human, you're human, and what does that mean? It means that we are prone to make mistakes. We're prone to have inconsistencies. So we just do our best. And you have to, in order to be happy with yourself, you just have to accept yourself. That's really it. And it doesn't really matter whether you're big, you're small, you're whatever. You just have to accept yourself for whatever you are. So if we can get you better than what you are now, then you got to be happy with that. And unless you decide you want to change more and keep changing, but at some point you have to just decide you're going to be happy. Oh, Mustang Sally, I'm sorry, I was a little delayed. You asked if that person had 360 or just the front. This one had 360. How about that girl now? Sorry, I'm delayed. Nikki Lewis, that name looks familiar. I think I just did a consult with you. But I think the cool thing is when you see, you can follow these stories. I mean, we call them the journeys, right? So when our patients, they're on a path, they're on this journey to find their success, whatever their success is. Everybody has different goals, different expectations. But when you get to see other individuals improving and reaching their goals, it's inspiring and motivating. So that's one of the big reasons why the group has been such a important part of the healing process after this procedure. Because when you finish this procedure, I think there's a lot of uncertainties and you have a lot of questions, and it's easy to feel like you're kind of out on a ledge somewhere where that no one else understands what's going on. You're swollen, you feel weird, and you have different sensations, and in a way you feel like a little crazy because no one. It's almost like no one around you understands. But when you jump on the group and you're like, hey, I'm having this issue with swelling in wherever my pubic area, or I'm having this irregularity. Has anybody had the same issue? Or I'm having a depression, I don't know what to do, like these are the type of things that people talk about in the group. And when you can go into this and you're in the middle, it's like it's in the middle of the storm, right? You just had the procedure, you're swollen, you're draining, and you feel like crap. And to be able to step into an area where other people understand all that you're going through, other people have been through the same process, and when you have your issues, you have your concerns, you have a bunch of other people that say, hey, I've been there too, I've done that, and you know what, it's going to get better in a few days. Or you could do X, Y, and Z, and it makes things better, and it's going to speed up your healing process. That's what a mentor is for, and that's what these individuals, like this is Rebecca. She's very active on the group, and she's happy to help anybody who wants help, because she knows that by helping you, it holds her accountable. And by holding herself accountable, that's how she gets better results. That's how she continues to advance along this journey. Because as you may know, I'm sure you've tried, right? You try this diet and nobody holds you accountable. And if you're not going to hold yourself accountable, there's going to be that one moment like, I should do this, but I'm not going to. And you quit. But when you have other individuals that are holding you accountable, or that you feel like you got to be responsible because of them. So Rebecca, she's trying to be a positive example for other individuals. Therefore, she shows up for her workouts. She eats the right food. She's continuing to drink plenty of water. She's, more active. She's doing the things that she believes is necessary to continue to advance along her path. And by doing so, she's being a positive example for the new people coming in. And she's also gaining the experience and the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to share then with those of you who are coming up behind her. She's blazing the path of this liposuction journey. And Rebecca is now, so she started out with her 360 lipo and her BBL, and then she came back and she did her arms, her front and back brow roll, and her chin, and now she's coming back for her thighs. So she's essentially going to have a full body transformation that is pretty freaking amazing. Yeah, there's Rebecca. So it's pretty amazing, and it's going to be fun. I mean, if you've been following Rebecca, you've been able to see her progress with mentally, how she's advanced and grown, and it's psychologically she's been doing phenomenally well in 2 years, and she's continuing to get better, and it's just a steady improvement, which is awesome. And when I just spoke with her, she's had a consult. She's coming back for her thighs, and she lost like 30, 40 pounds, I want to say, since these pictures here, maybe more. And she's just continued to get better. The last time I saw her, when she was considering doing her thighs, it was about a year ago, and she was substantially heavier, probably like 20, 25 pounds heavier. So when I saw the new pictures of her, I was blown away, because I actually changed my recommendations. We were considering doing full thighs, which is circumferential arms, so this would be for larger individuals. But now she's able to do the more conservative approach, which is be like the inner thighs and the knees, and then the outer thighs. And then she also has there's like a strip just below the butt. It's called the banana roll. And she's kind of filled in. She's got a little fold there. So when we take that away, what it does is it brings the back of your thigh in further, and it makes the butt look like it pops out a little bit more. Also, when we treat the side, that outer thigh there, the outer thigh, you might have that hump, and that allows me to better shape the butt and create the curves that we're looking for. Then when you get that inner thigh is the area where people get a lot of that girls call it a chub rub. You got some rub and that friction every time you're walking. It moves, and it rubs, and you might get sores, and yeah, not fun stuff. So the inner thighs is pretty good procedure for reducing the chub rub. Okay, can you still get the same results? Oh yeah, the extra skin. Extra fancy. Yes, we're doing 50. That's what this 15% off. 15% off special is going on right now. The 15% off is for your procedure cost. That includes the smart lipos, all the procedure costs. The only thing it doesn't include is the recovery house. So 15%, the stipulations are that you have to place the deposit before the end of this month, and you have to have the procedure done by the end of next month. Now, the first step, if you haven't gotten this yet, is you definitely want to go get your quick quote. You can get your pricing. Like, you can do that immediately as we're speaking right now. You can get the quick quote. It's based off of your basic body measurements, your height and your weight. Once you get the quick quote, you have an idea of the pricing. You know what it's going to be like, and it's pretty accurate. Surprisingly, it's pretty accurate. Once you get your pricing, though, the next step is getting your formal consultation. You're going to schedule a meeting with me directly. We look at the pictures, we develop a plan, answer all your questions, and keep you moving forward. You know, a lot of people, like I was just talking to a consultation earlier today, and she was telling me how she's kind of wavering. She's like, I want to do this, but I'm getting nervous and anxious, and then she's considering backing off, and not moving forward, and that is, I think, where a lot of people sit. They sit right on the edge, and they're like, yeah, I want to do it. These results look amazing, but I'm scared it's gonna hurt, or I'm gonna have to recover and be off of work, or I'm gonna, whatever the things that you tell yourself. But those are the minor, we'll call them like a speed bump, right? Some people get to these speed bumps and they stop. They're like, oh no. But you got to realize that you got shocks. You can handle this stuff. So you can go right over these speed bumps and keep on going. So, but the thing is when you get these anxiety, you get these fear, that's where it's a good opportunity to, one, connect here with me. If you have questions, concerns, you can hear it directly from me. But also getting part of the private Facebook group, as you're part of the private Facebook group, you can speak to these other individuals because they've had the same concerns. They've had the same fears. They've had the same excuses, same stuff. So all you need to do is be able to connect with people that will allow you psychologically to get over your little hump and make the decision to do the things that are going to allow you to change your life. How many times have you been stuck in these decisions where you can't move forward? You've made so many excuses as to why it can't be done, and you're so focused on why it can't be done that you haven't even thought about how to make it possible. Some of you are like, I don't have the money. Stop thinking about not having the money. Stop thinking about how you can figure out how to get the money. Maybe that's spending less. Maybe that's not getting that Starbucks coffee, or maybe it's, not going on a vacation, or I don't know, whatever that means to you. Or maybe you need to go, figure out a way to make more money. Maybe you get some type of side hustle. You start, driving for Uber or something, or send your kid to go working or something, right? You do whatever you got to do, but focus on how to solve the problem as opposed to what the problem is. So many of us are going to say like, oh, well, this is the problem. And you're like laser being focused on the problem. That's all you can see. I'm going to suggest that zoom out a little bit. And yes, there's a problem, there's an issue, but you can start to figure out how the solution comes into play. And the focus then can shift from the problem to the solution. And if you can solve the solution, then next thing you know, you're on to your goals. Yeah, Nikki's agreeing that Rebecca is so helpful. She really is. So I see there's a Spanish speaker here on Instagram asking questions. I apologize, but we do have, if you want to call our office, girls at the office can answer all these questions, and there's likely going to be someone that will come on and answer those questions for us in Spanish as well. Okay, Elizabeth says she needs the back section. Full body lipo is what you need, Elizabeth, right? So, many of our patients, because we help individuals with these big problems, many of them, not only do they have that big belly that hangs over, that's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. So the front of the belly is just the main problem. And once we get the main problem, then you'll find there's other issues, whether it's the thighs, the waist, the arms, the chin. These are all issues that we can address, and that's why we call it a journey, because it's going to take time, and you don't have to get the whole solution today or this year, for that matter. You can spread it out, but when you get to these points when it's the body becomes restrictive and it stops you from doing the things that you want to do, that's when it's time to change. It becomes from a maybe to a must. Okay, How about the girl behind you? So she just had the waistline treated. So this was not even a fat transfer. This was just the waistline, which is really interesting because you can, if you zoom in on this, you can see. Whoops. Sorry. If you zoom in, you can see that you know, that when that waistline came down, I mean, even the color of the butt changed. And the reasoning behind that, I mean, for one, it's the lighting. I mean, that's clearly the big part. But what I've found is that in the before picture, first of all, she's standing up. In the after picture, she's lying down. So gravity plays a different part here. In the before picture, gravity was pulling down on that spare tire, that fat up in the lower back and the waistline. And so gravity was pulling down, which caused the dimpling of the butt. And now she believed she had a flat butt before the procedure. And the reason why she believed she had a flat butt, was that she had a spare tire that was sticking out further than her butt. So in comparison, from perspective of the lower back being fuller, the butt would appear flat. However, once we took out that spare tire, that waistline, that fullness, that little inner tube you can see going around the waist, once we took that out, you can see that the pressure was off of the butt, and all of a sudden it was able to relax. And when it relaxed, those dimples went away. Now, in the after picture, you can see this is, first of all, this is while she's on the table. This is immediate change, immediate. But you can see how she developed that fold, and so this is just a consequence. We removed the fat out of an area, and the density of the tissue changes. When the density of the tissue changes, the skin is going to do whatever it has to do. It's just based on its density, based on how how much skin is there, based on the movement of the body. Because when she stands up straight, there's now an arch to the lower back, and that arch is going to make it so the skin is a little bit redundant. And so in her situation, and this is just her situation, she seemed to develop this overlap of the skin. Now, since this is immediately after the procedure, this is not permanent. So after the procedure, when you're doing the compression garment, you still have the opportunity to try to get that skin to lay flat. And if you can get it to lay flat for long enough, the scar tissue will scar down in whatever position you're in. So you could theoretically avoid that roll. And again, to reiterate, the 15% off special, it is you need to place a deposit before the end of the month and have your procedure by the end of next month. And let's see, Charlotte Mamacita says, is that lipo only, and how much would it cost? So it is lipo only. All we do is liposuction. We specialize in liposuction. That's why we're amazing at it. The cost is really easy. We put together this quick quote system. So if you go to our website, myshapelipo.com, you can click on the link. It's right on the front of the page, the quick quote system. It's free. You just enter your information, basic information, your height and your weight, and based off of that, then you're going to make a few choices on what you want to treat, and then it'll give you a quote, and the quote's pretty darn accurate. We also, based off the height and weight, we're able to implement our safety protocol, which actually gives you different options, different quotes based off of your BMI for what it would be safe for someone in your size. So go get the quick quote. You'll get your pricing, so you have an idea what the pricing is. Then when you're ready to move forward, the next step is placing your deposit. The deposit is 25% of your procedure cost, but now if you're taking advantage of this 15% off special, you can get a significant discount. What's up, Kevin Hoffman? It's been a while. Okay, Guadalupe pregunta, ellos hablan español. Por favor, llamar a mi oficina. Hopefully, I hope that worked. So my son is taking Spanish. So I've been trying to speak Spanish with him, and I took Spanish in high school. I've been to Mexico like so many times, since I played soccer, a lot of my friends growing up were Hispanic, so I've been around Spanish my whole life, and I grew up in LA, so LA is like almost like part of Mexico. Um, so I understand a lot of Spanish, but I don't feel confident and comfortable speaking it very much. But I do understand a lot of it, and I can speak some of it. I do my best. I try to get by. I can negotiate with this. I can negotiate in Mexico. That's what I can do. Okay. Where are we located? We are located in Las Vegas. Short flight from anywhere. Okay, so do you do fat transfer to the butt? Asks Nadia. Absolutely. So fat transfer to the butt, that's BBL. You can see how we use liposuction to remove the fat. That's how we create the shapes in the hourglass figure. And then we add volume to the butt, which accentuates what you already have. So, but in doing so, you can see how we can literally change the shapes of the body, create that hourglass figure, that elongated curves, and it even gives you that volume and that width to the butt. You can see how we are able to make the butt wider. And so what we do with this is we're actually adding the volume down here, and you can see how she's bruised. This is a bruise right here. So we added volume on the side here, which gives her that width, and we're looking for that like that upside down heart, so where it gets a little bit wider. So we want to be the butt's like this, and then we funnel into that hourglass figure. So we funnel into that. You can see it's pretty obvious right here how that works. So. And this is a nice procedure. The fat transfer is it's really a good procedure to get a natural enhancement. The fat itself, once we remove it, we're going to take it out in a sterile fashion into a sterile container. Then we're going to inject it right back into the body, so it never actually touches the air. So it reduces the risk for bacteria and infection. With that said, it's always possible to get an infection when you do the fat transfer, but we try to reduce the risk as much as possible. Now, after the procedure, you would need to keep pressure off of the butt. So the pressure, what it does is when you put pressure on the area, it collapses those tiny little blood vessels, and tiny blood vessels are bringing nutrients and oxygen to the butt to help the fat survive. And if the fat can't survive, then it doesn't last as long. So keeping pressure off the area will allow for a better blood supply to help the fat survive. So the recommendations are no pressure for 2 weeks and limited pressure for 2 months. Okay. Saint Denis says you missed what we said earlier about the 15% off. So the 15% off is a special that we are offering for where you have to place a deposit by the end of this month, and you have to get the procedure done by the end of next month. Yeah, practice makes perfect. Okay, is there a certain BMI you would need to be at to do the procedure? No, you can see, Charlotte, go through our quick quote system. The categories are based on the BMI, and our categorization stops at the BMI of 44. That doesn't mean that we can't help you as you get bigger, but what I've found, and this is, and look, I created the system, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I have a data system, and I have all these pictures of people, and so what I did is I started plotting data on, and I can see based off of BMI what the recommendation that I would have given. So I put it into a system, and then the system, I tested the system over and over and over. But what I found was, as you got to the higher BMIs, 44 and above, that it was more about the distribution of the fat. So where did the person carry the fat? Some people are bottom heavy, they carry everything in the thighs, and they have less in the midsection. So the recommendations for that person would be different than the person who carries everything in the midsection, their belly's hanging down to their knees. Now, I'm not saying we can't help you, but it's just a different recommendation. So if you don't fit into the quick quote, or even if you do, you're going to need to get the formal consultation anyways, and that's where we'll evaluate the situation and see if we can come up with the best plan for you specifically. Stomach after 7 babies. Well, You're not the only one. There's lots of women, and right on cue, Granville pulled up Blanquita here. Blanquita she's been very active on the private Facebook group. She's had 7 kids as well, so she's been through the same stuff that you've been through. And if you go look at her page, she's got kids. She's got so many kids, and she's a great mom. But I think she's like most moms, where when the kids are young, you neglect yourself and you give everything to the babies and the kids. It's like they just suck the life out of you, and then you're left with just all the junk, right? All the fat and the toxins and everything, right? So you're left with all that stuff. So now, at some point in your life, you're like, you know what? Enough is enough. You got to cut the kids off, and you got to start taking care of yourself. And that's what she did. And so she started this journey and of self-improvement. So she, liposuction was one of the things. She changed her lifestyle. She started, after we did her waistline, she started doing these waist trainers to get her waist like cinched in. And I mean, it's amazing what she's been able to accomplish. And she's one of those people that is inspiring and motivating all the people around her. And that's fun to watch. It's fun to be around, and she's just a great positive energy. So we're happy to have her around here. So I definitely connect with her, Charlotte, and you can go on their private Facebook group and connect with her directly. Okay, so you just had a baby 5 minutes ago. How long would you have to wait for the next procedure? So typically, the recommendations are 6 months to a year after having a baby. After having kids or babies, there's a lot of hormonal issues that are going on with your body, particularly if you're breastfeeding still. The hormones they cause connective tissue issues, and like they make your tissue like stretchy to the point where it doesn't, like, the fat doesn't want to come out as easily. That's been my experience. But with that said, everyone's a little bit different, so I don't know for sure. But I can just tell you that the basic recommendations would be a minimum of 6 months to a year after having a baby. Okay, Mustang Sally says, let's see, where you got a couple questions here. Okay. Does it cost more for the BBL? So the BBL is fat transfer. So, and typically if you want fat transfer to the butt, I'm going to recommend treating the waistline, because we want to create the curves, the hourglass figure, and when we treat the waistline, it allows me to shape the butt. And the big part of getting the best results with the BBL is that I need to have the ability to shape. So look at right here, this is liposuction and BBL. So I was able to create the hourglass figure, and by taking the fat away, and I create the shape of the butt, and then add the volume. So the volume is the fat transfer, and the fat transfer is an additional $2,000 on top of the liposuction cost. And all this stuff, Mustang Sally, all this can be found in the quick quote system. So when you go through the quick quote, it'll, you just click on this stuff and it gives you pricing. Also of interest on the quick quote, I just want to note that there's a bunch of videos. So I recorded a bunch of frequently asked questions. So a lot of the stuff that I'm answering now, I've actually made videos about it. And so on the quick quote system, you can go through the videos. There's like, a couple hours of videos on there that you can get the information. And my intent is that you have all the pertinent information that you need in order to make the right decision. And then when I communicate with you through these lives, the intent with this is to build a relationship, so we can actually communicate, we can talk, you can ask your questions, and you can feel like you get to know me a little bit, right? We're starting to talk here, and I can get to know you a little bit, and we can converse. And it's kind of nice. This has worked really well for my practice, and I feel like I've had a much better connection with my patients. And more importantly, is afterwards, as we're following these individuals, I get to see what their life has changed, and the effects that it's had, which is, I think, for me, it validates my work and allows me to see the full extent and the effect that this has on people, which is, I think it's a lot of fun. And it's made it very rewarding for me personally to be able to see the amazing changes that it has on people's lives. Because looking at these pictures is one thing, but when you start seeing how it's positively affected an individual's life, like they're happier, their marriage is better, their relationship with their kids are better, they're making more money because they're more confident, they changed their job, they whatever it is, this is like the catalyst, this is the beginning. This is where things start to shift. And as it shifts and change, the improvement happens. Now, it's not a straight line to success. It's a zigzag. It's a back and forth. You do good, you do bad, you do good, you do bad. You take a step back, you go up. It's all over the place, and this is a journey. So as you're advancing, you follow people like Stacy here. Stacy's been at this game for a few years now, and she's been doing all these mental things and improving her mindset and improving her diet, exercising more. And as she improves each step of the way, as she improves, her confidence takes another level up. And she pushes as hard as she can, and then she feels, hey, you know what, it's time for a little bit of help, and she comes back and she gets another procedure. She said, I think, like 2-3 procedures at this point. um, and you can make your choices. Some people are like, I want to get everything done all at once. Okay, whatever you want. But we can't do everything at once. You got to spread it out, but you can try and pack it in and get it quicker. That's okay. Some people like to go faster. Some people like to spread this out. I've had patients that, they're coming back now after 7 years. Some guy called me the other day, talking about his wife, and she had a procedure 7 years ago, and now she's coming back to get more done. Now, in 7 years, a lot of things change, right? So she had gained weight, she had a baby, lots of issues. So that was her path. Your path is going to be your path, and you are the only one that gets to make the decision. You get to, communicate with other people. You get to read about the consequences, or, you get to watch my videos. We do our consultation, all the information. You're going to collect all that information in one place, right, in your mind. But then ultimately, you get to make the decision. It's your money that you're going to be spending. So you make the decision, but we're here to help you make a better decision. And what I mean by better decision, it's in your best interest. I'm not trying to make the most money on you or whatever. I'm helping you make a decision in your best interest. How are we going to get the best results? How are we going to do this the safest way and most cost-effective way for you? How are we going to do this? And that's what we're trying to figure out. And we've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this a long time. Man, sucked out so much fat, it's unbelievable. I tried to think about the other day how I could portray just how much fat it has been that I've sucked off of people. And I was trying to correlate it to, how many elephants the fat that I've removed, the same equivalent. And but man, it's like it's got to be thousands and thousands of pounds of fat that I've removed from people. And it's been a wild ride. Who would have thought? Who would have thought getting into liposuction? It sure wasn't the thing that I thought about when I was younger. And liposuction chose me. It fell into my lap. It was an opportunity, and I was open to opportunity. I was open to change. And when the opportunity fell into my lap, I tried it. I was like, I don't know, I didn't even know what liposuction was, to be honest with you, when I got started out. But I was in a bad position. I had lost a job, my wife was pregnant, I had a mortgage to pay for, so financially I was strapped, and I didn't know what to do. I was working in orthopedics at the time, and when I lost my job, I had these responsibilities. And so I decided that I needed to start looking for something outside of orthopedics because there was no jobs available. So I found a job in Beverly Hills, and I was living in LA at the time. So I found a job in Beverly Hills, which was not close. It wasn't an easy commute. There was nothing really great about it, but it was a job. It was an opportunity. And so I went for the interview, and Beverly Hills is wild. It's a wild place. But I went for the interview down there and met with people, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, okay. And I'd never been on interviews where people didn't like me. I was always I think a very likable person. So when they didn't call me back immediately, I was like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I don't even know if I'm interested in this, but you should be offering me a job at least, right? So anyhow, they put me off for a month, and they finally offered me a job, and I took the opportunity, and I jumped in head first, and it was my only thing that I had. right? It was all that I had. And so I went head in and I did the best that I can, and I worked as hard as I could, and I didn't question anything, and I just learned as much as I can, just soaked up the knowledge and did everything that I can. And as it turns out, now I'm like 15 years out. I've done thousands and thousands of these procedures, changed the lives of thousands of women, men, and it's been a wild ride. It's very humbling. So Charlotte, after C-section, we can absolutely do the procedure. You're gonna have some scar tissue from the C-section or any other surgeries that any of you may have had. The scars can be challenging, but in most cases, I've got techniques to break that stuff up, and we can get around that stuff. In rare occasions, it can become more challenging. So each situation will be a little bit different. Obviously, there's people that have much more challenging situations. So, all right, we're gonna get this wrapped up here. I just want to remind you, we do have this 15% off special going on right now. This special requires that you place a deposit before the end of this month, and so before May 31st, which is coming up in pretty short time here. And then you need to have the procedure by the end of next month. So the first thing you need to do is get your quick quote so you can get your pricing. The quick quote system can be found on our website. It's a link there right on the front of the page. You click the quick quote, enter your basic information, and you can get an instant quote right there, just based on some basic answers. Once you get your quote and you have an idea of what the cost is going to be, the next step is doing a formal consultation where you're going to meet with me directly. We're going to review your specific situation, make sure that the quick quote was accurate for you and the pricing was appropriate, and then help you get started on your journey. So it can happen way faster than you think. This can happen way faster than you think. So when you're ready to change your life, you got to start taking action. You got to start taking action now. Start with the quick quote, get the formal consultation, and I will see you soon.